Good morning, everybody. As we start this Friday, I've got some terrible news to report.
Pelosi residence in San Francisco and violently assaulted Mr. Pelosi. The assailant is in custody and the motivation for the attack is under investigation. Mr. Pelosi was taken to the hospital where he is receiving excellent medical care and expected to make a full recovery. The speaker was not in San Francisco at the time. The speaker and her family are grateful to first responders and medical professionals and request privacy at this time. Speaker Pelosi and her husband, both prominent figures in the news. We do not know, we should caution, we do not know the motivation for this attack. We know nothing about the assailant just yet. This all just happened in the last few minutes. We're certainly grateful that Mr. Pelosi seems, per the statement, like he's going to make a recovery, but certainly a terrible tragedy, and we're going to be trying to figure out more about the assailant and what caused this attack.
Yeah, Mika, we don't have a motive. We'll be very cautious about that right now, but there is a suspect in custody, so we'll learn that very quickly, it would seem, whether this was an act of street crime, a burglary, or a break-in, or something worse remains to be seen. But again, Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, was beaten to the point where he had to be taken to the hospital. He is going to make a recovery. Speaker Pelosi was not there. This, again, all taking place inside their home in San Francisco.
Honestly, and this, obviously no connection. We don't know what the motivation was, but it's hard not to keep in mind here that Nancy Pelosi's life was threatened during the January 6th attack on the Capitol when people invaded the People's House. Now, a violent attack inside her home. We'll be following this story and we'll bring the very latest details, as you said, Willie, with a suspect in custody that should be helpful to getting more information soon, and we will bring it to you as soon as we get it.
Nancy Pelosi is up there in age. I believe she's in her 80s. I think her husband is 82, 83 years old. Can you imagine your frail grandmother or grandfather in their 80s being violently attacked? How that would wreak havoc on their body? And there's no way that we are not going to mention that the right has continuously incited violence against Nancy Pelosi, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, the whole lot of them. I'll be watching to see who's responsible for this. Interesting. One of my peeps sent this post to me, made by Marjorie Taylor Greene last night. Just wait until tomorrow. She tweeted it at 8:48 p.m. I find it interesting because when I turned on the news this morning, these were the two news stories that were being discussed on news media. Elon Musk is now in charge of Twitter, and they were talking about how he is certainly going to reinstate Donald Trump's Twitter account. And the other news story was about the husband of Nancy Pelosi being violently assaulted by an assailant in their home. Being that we know that Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the individuals that was inciting violence for January 6th, we cannot forget that she is also one of the individuals that continuously incites violence against Nancy Pelosi. So when she tweeted, "Just wait until tomorrow," was she thinking or hinting at the possibility that her Twitter account was going to be reinstated because Elon Musk is now in charge of Twitter? Or was she going to be celebrating the fact that Nancy Pelosi's husband was violently attacked? And if it's the latter, then how did she know he was going to be violently attacked when it was just breaking news and being talked about this morning? Y'all let me know your thoughts. Or could she have been talking about something else altogether? Time will tell. More information is coming out in regards to the violent attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. The intruder entered the home screaming, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" Here's the news report.
The assailant who attacked Paul Pelosi was in search of the Speaker of the House, which puts it into a federal crime, against a relative of an officer and now the second in line for the presidency. Before the assault occurred, according to this source, the intruder confronted Mr. Pelosi in their home shouting, "Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy?" Debbie Dingle, that's what the intruders going through the hallways on January 6th were shouting, "Nancy, Nancy." This is part of the January 6th insurrection toxicity that has infected the brains of people around the country in horrible ways, if this is accurate.
News media is still saying they don't know the specific motivation for this. So they aren't coming out and saying that this is politically motivated. But in my opinion, if the intruder went to their home specifically shouting for and looking for Nancy Pelosi, that tells me this violent attack was politically motivated, incited by those on the right. This isn't just some burglar who by some happenstance ran into Paul Pelosi and they got into an altercation and he ran and left the home. No, this intruder specifically went looking for Nancy Pelosi. There's also rumor that the intruder was armed with a hammer and hit Paul Pelosi in his face with a hammer. I don't know how true that is. That's just rumor being discussed out there on Twitter. I haven't seen any of the major news networks pick up and confirm that he was attacked with a hammer. But once it's put out there, I'll definitely let you guys know. This is terrible. And this is scary.
Good morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chief Bill Scott with the San Francisco Police Department. At approximately 2:27 this morning, San Francisco police officers were dispatched to the residence of Speaker Nancy Pelosi regarding an A-priority well-being check. When the officers arrived on scene, they encountered an adult male and Mr. Pelosi's husband, Paul. Our officers observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer. The suspect pulled the hammer away from Ms. Pelosi and violently assaulted him with it. Our officers immediately tackled the suspect, disarmed him, took him into custody, requested emergency backup, and rendered medical aid. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old David DePepe. Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePepe were transported to a local hospital for treatment. This is an active investigation currently being led by the San Francisco Police Department Special Investigations Division. We are working closely with our partners from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Capitol Police, and our district attorney here in San Francisco County, D.A. Brooke Jenkins, and her team. The motive for this attack is still being determined. Mr. DePepe will be booked at the San Francisco County Jail on the following charges: attempted homicide, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary, and several other additional felonies. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank the responding officers for their swift action this morning. Those San Francisco police officers are Officer Colby Wilness, Officer Kyle Cagney, and Sergeant Edmund Hoang. I'd also like to thank our emergency dispatcher, Heather Grimes, who's standing here to my left, for a really amazing job. For inquiries regarding Mr. Pelosi and his condition, we refer you to the statement issued by Speaker Pelosi's office this morning. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins, for a few brief comments. And let me say in advance, this is what we know at this time. We will update you further, but we will not be able to take any questions after this statement.
Thank you, Chief Scott, and I do want to commend the San Francisco Police Department for their immediate response to this home and for swiftly making sure that Mr. Pelosi was okay and that the suspect was apprehended. We are working closely with them right now with respect to the investigation and will proceed with the appropriate charges as things unfold, as well as work with the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal partners.
Meghan McCain tweeted, "I feel absolutely sick, horrified, and disgusted about the news of Paul Pelosi. What in God's name is happening in this country? Everyone join me and send support, love, prayers, anything you can to Speaker Pelosi, her husband, and the entire Pelosi family. This is a broken world." Who's going to tell her? Who's going to tell her that the party that she is a part of are the ones that are inciting and instigating this violence? For those of you that are a part of the Republican Party and you think you can sit idly by and continue to tell us, "I love the policies," but ignore all of this stuff, you're a part of the problem too. Nancy Pelosi has security detail, and wherever she goes, they go. The family doesn't have security detail. However, I suspect that will soon be changing. My son and I have got appointments. We're getting COVID booster shots, we're getting flu shots, and I'm getting a shingles shot. I don't think I'm doing any videos after we do all of that. However, I wanted to come in and say that there is one sentiment that's being shared across all of the videos that I have done today. That is, they are literally destroying our democracy. And I am here to say that is the entire point. All of what they're doing, that is the point. The point is to destroy our democracy. November 8th will soon be here. And a lot of people have got a decision to make. Vote blue up and down the ticket.